Alright, so we're going to talk about Level 1D notes, which is all about relative points. So this graph happens to show a location of a city, and it also shows the location of Gary's house and Jen's house. And so the scale shows us that we're going to be talking about miles, and we have a compass here to show us some directions. So the first thing we're asked is to use the scale to describe Gary's location relative to the city. Then give the coordinates for Gary's house. So when I look at Gary's house, I'm looking at it relative to the city. So I'm going to start with the city and move my way to Gary's house. So let's start by moving on the x-axis because that's how we write our coordinates. So if I look and I'm using the compass here, if I go towards Gary's house, it's going to go west. And if I'm looking at my scale, I'm actually counting by 5. So it would be 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 miles, because we got that from here, miles west because of the compass right here. So I'm going to start by saying that it is 25 miles west. And you can go ahead and start filling in these notes with me as you see me type. And then I'm also going to look at, well, that's not where Gary's house is, so we need to also go north of there. And I know north because it's going up, and that's where I see it on the compass. So I'm going to count up, and I'm again counting by 5s because that's what my scale tells me. So I'm going to go 5, 10, 15 miles north. So that's what I would say, 25 miles west, 15 miles north. So make sure you're writing that in your notes here. So then to show that as the coordinates, I'm looking at just the numbers. So by going west, that actually goes into our negative numbers because we're going to the left of 0 here. So that means it's going to be negative 25 for our x coordinate for Gary's house. So I'm going to put negative 25 in that first blank, and you should too. And then in order to figure out that y coordinate right here, again, that was that 15 miles north that we had to go because that's going up on the y-axis, and that's what this coordinate represents, is the y-axis. So that would be going up from 0, so that means it's a positive 15. So we're going to put 15 as our y-coordinate. So those are the coordinates for Gary's house, and we showed the directions relative from the city. Okay, now we're going to do the exact same thing for Jen's house. However, now we're talking about describe Jen's house relative to Gary's house. And then we need to give Jen's house coordinates. Okay, and those coordinates are going to be based off of from the city, where the center is, which I'll show you here in a second. But right now they want us to describe how to get to Jen's house relative to Gary's. So if I start at Gary's house and I go to Jen's, I'm really just going to the right, or we're going to say east because of the compass here. And again, I'm counting by 5s each time because that's what the scale shows. So I'm going to go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 miles east. And that's how I would get from Gary's house to Jen's house, is 30 miles east. Now to give us Jen's house coordinates, we need to look at 0 and we move 5 to the right. So on our x, it's going to be 5. And then for Jen's y coordinate, we're going to go up, and if we count, we've got 5, 10, 15, because she's straight across from Gary, so it's going to be the same y coordinate as Gary's. So her coordinates are 5, 15. Now the last thing it asks us to do is to describe the location of Jen's house relative to the city. So that's basically what we did with her coordinates. So we're going to say that we go 5 miles to the east, because that's how we got that 5 is our x coordinate. So we go 5 east, and I'm using the compass to help. And then we're going to go 15 north, so 15 miles north. And so we're already good there. So if you need a little bit more practice with these relative points because you're unsure about which direction to go or to know what to count by, then you can use this IXL here to practice. If you completely got this, and maybe look at your pre-assessment to see what score you got, then maybe you don't need extra practice and you can skip this. But these were your notes, and feel free to practice extra if you need it.